Hello and welcome to Therapy Book Thursday. Today we have a special book called The Palace of Books, written and illustrated by Patricia Polacco. I have read several of her books, and to be honest, I actually didn't realize she had so many books. The first book I read of hers was The Keeping Quilt, and that was a pretty special book. This one is another book based on her life and talks about the library, which is where I got this book. So this is a fun way to learn about libraries and how books can be so helpful to us, including the librarians who are at the libraries, whether it's your school library or your university library or your public library in your town. And let's find out a little bit about this book. This is a little longer. This is a little longer book than the one I usually read. And so you might be a little patient, but I'm sure you will like looking at all the pictures and learning all about what we're going to find out in this book. So let's get started. Palace of Books. Palace of Books. It was a sunny day. There was a very slight breeze that rustled the leaves in the trees and made waves across our wheat field like on the surface of lake water. I was sitting on the fender of my grandfather's old tractor, one of my favorite things to do. Grandpa was tilling the pasture for one last time. We were all moving away from this place the next day. Suddenly, Grandpa made a sharp turn and circled a small spot in the field, only to return to tilling the row. "Grandpa, why did you do that?" I asked. "Because there is a thrasher who has her nest and hatchlings within those grasses. I always protect them and plow around them. She is nesting her babies," he answered. As I looked at the field, it was dotted with many spots of tall grasses. "Are all of those nests?" I asked him. He nodded. And there's an author's note. The Audubon Bird Club lasted at Fremont Elementary School for the next 60 years. The school was closed in 2016, but later reopened. But to this day, I'm still proud of what we did. To think that none of it would have happened if I had not discovered the wonder of the magnificent palace of books. And Mrs. Creevey, of course. It was she who took me into the stacks and introduced me to Audubon and his glorious paintings. Reading remained very difficult for me, however. I learned in later years that I have dyslexia, dysnomia, which means I have trouble remembering letters and numbers, dysgraphia, and a failure of sensory integration. I shall remember with gratitude and sincere measure the heart of that wondrous librarian, Mrs. Creevey, as long as I live. It was she who made it her business to deliver those amazing books into my gaze. She brought a beauty into my life that still resonates with an appreciation of color, shape, design, and composition. I not only memorized many species of birds, but also learned to identify the works of hundreds of artists because of her. That generous single act of sharing the beauty that was within those books assured my future as an artist, an author, and an amateur ornithologist. Thank you, Mrs. Creevey, wherever you are. I still have my Audubon Bird Club pin that was placed on my chest over 60 years ago. Patricia Polacco. So we learned a lot about birds and painting and books, but especially books. And one of the reasons I like to read books here is to teach you something so that you learn something from the books you read. So there's all kinds of things you can learn from books. And even if you don't read them, somebody can read them to you. And eventually, you may learn to read. I know people who have trouble reading as well, and it is hard for them. And it takes lots of practice, and it takes sometimes getting help to read in different ways and learn how to do things differently than maybe everybody else does them. And that's a little bit of what Miss Patricia did as well. So if you have a library and maybe you aren't sure what to do, you can ask a librarian and they can help you and they can show you all the different things you can learn from books. And maybe someday you will become something special because you read a book about it. Thank you for joining me today. As always, all the books that I read here can be found at your local library, at a local bookstore, or on my Amazon list that I have in the write-up here. So feel free to check those out, and I will see you again next week for Therapy Book Thursday.